Good morning, welcome back to my daily Transcontinental Race coverage. This is day 11 and let's have a little look and see what's going on. And I guess the main news is that we have plenty of riders now rolling across the finish line. Obviously Christof Strasser took the win a day or so ago, but we have the top 12 riders. Actually, there's a couple more. We'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, the top 12 has been filled out. So Tim de Wit, you may notice he was fourth yesterday. He's now been bumped up to third. Anatol has been removed from the general classification. We'll touch on that in a second. Will Vosten is therefore in fourth. Robert Muller, it doesn't sound like he really enjoyed the race, to be honest. He came in fifth. Florian Moreau sixth after a really strong start. Tobias Fuchs, Christian Duprez, Simon Geiser, Kristof Allergaert, Paul Neuhoff and David Brinkman have all finished. So that is the top 12 over the line now in Thessaloniki. And also the green leaderboard. So you remember I mentioned way back that the Transcontinental Race have a new initiative basically trying to promote sustainability and make people aware of, basically that you can travel overland to these things. So any riders who have committed to overland travel to and from the start, they have to submit evidence and receipts and tickets and all of that post-race. Get entered into the green leaderboard. So Tim de Wit, it was obviously third overall, but he took the win in the green leaderboard. So he won that nice little sub contest, and it's actually nice to see that there's 5 riders out of the top 12 have committed to that. So it is obviously making a bit of an impact. So that's great to see. Let's head over to the tracker. Just have a little look, see what's going on before we touch on. There was not controversy, but a bit of an issue with some of the finishes. So as you can see, a load of 12 riders in now. A few more on the finish parcours. Our first woman on the road, of course, Sherry. She's riding as a pair, and I must say, I said it the last few days. Riding as a pair is actually really difficult and normally way slower. So they're doing a fantastic job, and it looks like they'll get top 20. Which is really excellent for a pairs ride, and of course Sherry's first woman on the road. The women's race is really developing into something quite exciting. So yesterday I dated Maria had taken the lead ahead of Jamie, but Jamie's tracker had started playing up a little bit. Today it's the turn of Maria's tracker to start struggling. So I don't know exactly where she is. But from the sounds of it, from the reports on the TCR website, so Maria got ahead of Jamie on the parcours 4A and 4B by taking a track over the top. And then she stopped at Michuela at the checkpoint and then stopped overnight. And Jamie got ahead again. But as Maria's tracker is it looks like the battery has probably died. I suspected what happened. Jamie had tracker issues yesterday, so she wasn't showing. So we don't fully know what's going on. But those two have kind of been battling it out. So Maria's gone around the flat route, Jamie's gone the mountainous route. So if you remember looking on Rider GPS yesterday, there was the mountainous route, a load more climbing but more direct. And then the coastal route, kind of quite, coming back down the parcours, a long way around but flatter and probably a faster average speed. A few riders that have done that now. It looks like the mountainous route might be marginally faster, so it'd be interesting to see if Maria's tracker pops up again before the finish where she is. But in the meantime, they're not safe. Susanna is closing in. We know that last parcours, the gravel parcours, is particularly tricky. If any of these two riders ahead have major issues, and she could sneak through, and she could even take the win if she got it right. So fascinating. Probably just about a day or so left for these women. Probably finish early in the morning, I would suspect. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to announce the women's winner. And yes, I mean it's been a fantastic race, this Transcontinental Race, all across the board. Men's, women's, overall, it's been really great watching. I think the strength and depth of the fields now really, is forcing this kind of close racing. I mean, when I did it in 2015 or 2014, I was second and I was 24 hours behind Christof. When I won in 2015, I was like 34 hours ahead of second place. And that's just not going to happen again. I mean, it's a matter of hours now, which is good for spectators. Maybe a little bit more stressful if you're racing in the race. But yeah, that's kind of is what it is. So we talked about the little bit of controversy with some of the finishes. Basically, there's two riders. If we go right to the bottom of the leaderboard here, so remember Anatol. Where are they? Come on, follow my challenge. You can do it. So Anatol, he. The two riders down the bottom here, Anatol Naomi. I might have to just move my face so you can actually see. He actually finished third rider over the line, and Sebastian Starks, he was within the top 10. I don't know exactly where he finished. However, there was a statement put out when they both finished that, well, certainly the more public one has been Anatol. He's basically been removed from the general classification with for some. I think he rode with another rider for quite a sustained period early on in the race, and the organisers made a decision to remove him. Sebastian Starks, I'm not quite sure the details of this particular case. I imagine it's very similar. But the best way to explain it is the Transcontinental Race have put out a really good statement on their website. So let's just have a little listen to that, and that will explain exactly what's happened to these two riders and why they've been removed.
So this morning our third place rider on the road, Anatol Naomi, rolled into Thessaloniki, but unfortunately, due to him spending a significant amount of time on the road riding with another rider in the Alps, we've had to take the decision to remove him from general classification. It's a really difficult thing to do, and probably the hardest part of the whole job. But the problem is, when you ride with someone else, you're no longer on a level playing field with the rest of your competitors out on the road. So it doesn't really leave us with a choice. Now, it's important to say that he's not being disqualified. He's being removed from the general classification, which is different. Anatol still has a race finish. It's an incredible achievement. We don't want to take that away from him. I hope he's really proud of it. But the general classification is so sought after, precisely because it's so hard to attain. And we at Lost Stop work really hard to make sure we uphold the rules and the spirit of the race fairly across the whole field, regardless of the rider. Now, I race myself, and I know how important it is when you're a competitive person to get that finish that you've worked really hard for. And I really feel for Anatol. But unfortunately, we have to take the right decision, not the popular decision. I spoke at registration about the importance of having that level playing field, because without it, we don't have a race. And the rule is that you have to ride your race solo. Riding alone out on the course is something that all riders have to do. I really don't doubt that Anatol had no intention at all of gaining any advantage, but riding with a friend is an advantage. So the reason we weren't able to communicate this any earlier is that we've got over 300 riders out on the road, and we have a whole process of gathering evidence and information on what's going on, whether there are any possible rule infringements. Normally we wouldn't take these kind of decisions on the finish line, but we decided that we needed to do this on the finish line because we didn't want to deprive fourth place rider Tim de Witte of his spot on the podium. And we could have waited a couple of months until after the race, when emotions were less raw and everyone had had a bit of time to decompress. And that arguably would have been the easier thing to do. But I really don't think it would have been the right thing to do. So I hope that Anatol will reflect that he enjoyed his race when he's had time to rest. I hope that he's learned a lot from the race, and I really would love to see him back at a future edition.
So there we go. That is basically the statement from the race organisers about why Anatol has been removed from the general classification. Riding with another rider for extended periods of time in the Alps, obviously it's an advantage, especially if that person's a friend. So yeah, he's not being disqualified. He's just been removed from the general classification just to make it fair for everyone. Now, I mean, the rules around riding with people, I mean, over the course of this race, especially early on, you probably end up riding close to someone at some points. But there's a difference between riding close to someone and riding with someone. Like, quite often you'll see dots close together, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're like riding together as a pair. And the natural ebb and flow of these races means that some riders, like, you're always going at a slightly different pace. Riding, one rider will need to stop to go to the loo, so be a couple of minutes behind, and then just be riding stronger on the climbs or something, or one rider will descend. So there is an ebb and flow between riders during these races, but if you're riding together for a sustained period of time, and it's kind of obvious the dots are tracking at the same time, that is kind of evidence of riding with someone. And there's a vast network of dot watchers behind the scene, keeping an eye on everyone. And it looks like Anatol has unfortunately come a cropper of that, whether he meant to or not. But it's a shame. I was super impressed with how strongly he finished, and he still pedalled from Geeradsbergen to Thessaloniki, and I've got no doubt that he'll be back and he can get a top result. So hopefully he takes that as a good experience, and he comes back swinging. So that's the controversy of the day. Sebastian Starks, I assume, is very similar, but I've not seen details of that just yet, so we'll have to see how that goes. Right, before I move on, I'm just going to say thank you to Holy Fat. They've got a new lemon flavoured bar that's just come out, so you can see what they kind of look like. They've been sponsoring this coverage. I'm very grateful to them for it. So check those guys out. All the links are below in the comments, in the description. And of course, if you've got any comments, do put them in there. Thank you to Holy Fat. They've been good supporters, and they've believed in what I've been doing since the early days. Check them out and pay forward some support for them. There's been a few questions about the checkpoint cutoffs. So if we have a little look at the map, go back and probably wait half an hour for it to load up again. We'll see how the other riders are getting on, but the third checkpoint, the one in Albania, Burel to Pishkopi, is going to change. It's going to close tonight. Lunchtime today. So 7:30 in the morning here. I think they're an hour or two ahead. I think in Albania. So 8:30. So time is beginning to tick for those riders trying to get to the checkpoints. Remember the checkpoint's in Burel, so it's actually before the parcours. So if they get to that checkpoint at 5 to 12 and get their stamp, they are then good to carry on and head further on in the race. Let's see how many riders. There's a big gaggle around that parkour now. There's a few more riders that can probably get in there. These guys close up are going to get there, I suspect, but there's a few more. They might get through. It's going to be tight, but there's a few more that can get in. 5 or 6 riders, I suspect. And then the checkpoint in Mitura, CP4. So that shuts at Saturday at 12 at lunchtime, basically. So they've got a couple more days to then make that traverse down into Greece. Obviously, there's the parkour 4A and 4B section that we've been talking about a lot, which can slow things up quite a lot. So it might be a tall ask for some people, especially if they have any issues on the parkour. Be good to see how many people get through there. I will now get rid of Follow My Challenge before it totally crashes my computer. And I just wanted to finish just on the Transcontinental Race feed, because they've just got some awesome photos. So I'd thoroughly recommend you follow them and see what's going on. So these are the riders in the control point 3, the one I just mentioned that's closing, and you can see it's just kit and stuff everywhere. It's fair to say that in a race like this, standards do drop the further you go along, and you don't care what you look like, you don't care where you spread your kit, you don't care where you're sitting. Tired riders, but head in hands tired is a good sign. It means you've been doing TCR properly. More head in hands tired, but they're still going, and that's great. So hopefully these guys and girls will all make it through the parkour safely and get it done. And that looks like the gravel parkour. It looks like a really nice track to ride, actually. Kind of jealous. Kind of makes me want to race a TCR again every time I follow the race. This set. This was on CP4, so another set of riders, and that's obviously Sherry and Jerome leading pairs. Sherry's the first woman on the road, And this is, I think it's pub 38. I think it's been a finish line before at the Transcontinental Race. That's Jamie Wilson, I believe. So yeah, plenty of people enjoying themselves and more punches. It seems to be a bit of a theme on these gravel sections. And that's one of the gravel sections, and that looks fantastic. It really does look like a fantastic track and place to ride a bike, and that's Meteora. I mean, it's beautiful. I feel the Transcontinental Race just rewards you the further you get into it. And finally, a couple of photos from the finish line. The seafront in Thessaloniki. Tobias Fuchs, 260 finished. So that was him, 9 days, 20 hours and 11 minutes. So yeah, pretty cool to see everyone. That's pretty much all I've got time for today. I'll be back tomorrow for another quick update. I can do 2 more updates basically. I travelled to Kyrgyzstan for the Silk Road Mountain Race on a Saturday evening, so I've got 2 more mornings I can update. Hopefully we see the women's race finish. And then of course I'll be out in Kyrgyzstan. I'll actually put the tracker link for that race below. You'll have to do your own dot watching on that, I'm afraid. But it is basically it's a off-road race from Nelson Trees, who runs the Atlas Mountain Race and the Hellenic Mountain Race, which is also in this region that the TCR is passing through. 1,200 mile race, high altitude, lots of mountains, lots of remoteness. Hopefully I can get around it and survive it. I'll do some videos and stuff probably after the fact, because I doubt I'll be able to do anything during the race. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching again. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already. Yeah, and I've got big plans for more coverage and general kind of videos around the racing as the year progresses. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you soon.